Good morning. Welcome to week 2. Let's get after these lineup questions today. I am joined by Hawkeye legendary fan, Mr. Eric Harms. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Jeff. Thanks for including me in on these great shows each week. I appreciate it, and hopefully we can give people some good advice.
Fantastic. How many? We were talking a little bit before the show, and you said you had a plethora of teams, so you have a flurry of movements to make after this to get your lineup set. And
yeah,
what's your favorite kind of league to play in, Eric?
My favorite's RSO. I love the salary cap, the decisions you have to make. It's just gets a little bit more challenge, but doesn't really take a whole lot more time. But that's my favorite. In a couple of 32 team leagues, so we get pretty deep on those, and a couple more that are 12 team.
Perfect. Well, we're going to get started. We got a couple of questions that we had dropped earlier in the week. And then as friends drop some messages here in the comments, we'll be sure to answer questions. We'll be able to answer any IDP questions, team defenses. We even dabble in some offensive questions. So if you got some of those, we are more than happy to take a stab at those as well. So we got a question from Josh P. this week. He asked if Queen misses time on Sunday, or if he misses Sunday, how confident are we in starting Payton Wilson this week? It sounded like Queen was progressing towards playing. He was limited earlier in the week, but practiced fully on Friday. So I'm thinking Queen will probably be there. Although I don't know if the Pittsburgh Steelers really want him to be there after his week 1 kind of clunker that he had. So I think Queen is definitely going to be 100% snap all the time. We did see Landon Roberts kind of play splitting time with Payton Wilson. So I think Payton Wilson still has to stay on your bench until the immediate future, I think, Eric, unless you have something different.
No, I agree. I think if Queen misses the game, I think Landon's the 100% guy, and Wilson's a little less. So I hope you would have somebody a little bit better to play on your bench. But if it becomes a game time decision issue, maybe you don't. When is that game? Anyway, I would rather not start him this week.
Eric, where does a player have to get to for snap share where you consider them kind of a safer play? So like right now, if he and Roberts are splitting basically like 50% of the time, where is that like magic number for you in your head with a player?
For an off-ball linebacker, I like to see the 75% range at least, preferably higher. But yeah, I always look at the snap shares and try to find the guys that are going to be playing more. So I guess he could easily reach that. But if Queen is out, hopefully you don't have to play him. I'm not real hopeful this week.
And Pittsburgh's always been kind of like a weird enigma with their linebackers anyway on scoring. It's been, since probably Ryan Shazier's since we've had a consistent linebacker there. Even Cole Holcomb had like one good season, I think, but a lot of LB2, LB3 finishes for linebackers in Pittsburgh. So I don't know if it's a stat crew or what it is, but just a weird place. So yeah, Josh, appreciate the question there. Yeah. Jerry also asked on Twitter earlier in the week. He said he totally punted on DBs. He started Quentin Lake this week, but he heard he's a little banged up. Do we continue to roll with Lake, or does he option to Brandon Jones, PJ Locke, Mike Sanistril, or Jason Pinnock? So, Eric, what do you see right here? Is anything jumping out?
I was just looking at the game times here quick. Denver, they both start at, the Rams start at 3:05 and Denver starts at 3:25. So I think I'd wait. I think if Quentin Lake plays, great. I'd throw him in there. If not, I'd look at Jones or PJ Locke and throw one of those in. I wouldn't be too worried about it.
Do you have a preference between Jones or Locke?
I was just going to look up.
Yeah.
I typically like Locke a little bit better personally. But gosh, I guess I didn't pay attention last week to what those two particularly did just last week. But in general, I like Locke better from the end of what he did at the end of last year. Real strong finish. and he's kind of my guy.
If Lake plays, do you have any concerns about him playing limited, getting hurt, or if he's out there, he's probably going to be a pretty safe bet?
Yeah, if he's out there, I'm going to roll him.
Okay. Yeah, him playing that slot position is, we love that line of scrimmage, snap share, and things like that. PJ Locke played 65 snaps last week to Brandon Jones's 46. Mm-hmm. Both ended the game with 4 or 5 tackles. So production-wise, Locke has been on the field a lot more. So kind of go with that. So, if I would go with Lake as well, and if he's not there, then sounds like PJ Locke's your guy. I do like Sanistril, though. He played pretty well last week, but I think they get – who do they get this week? Do they get the Giants this week? That might not be a great matchup.
Yeah.
Getting over to our questions on the comment on the live stream here. We got War Clouds is asking Zach Bond or Levante David. Last week is sort of an easy question to answer. This week, as Bond's probably clearly the linebacker 1 in a lot of leagues as far as scoring from last week. Eric, do you have a preference on these players right now as you're looking at that?
As an Eagles fan, I really like the way the Bond's been playing, of course. But I've always loved Levante David. I'm probably going to roll him out no matter what. When you get this early in the season, one game just doesn't sway me a whole lot. I prefer to go with the guy that's tried and true and been there and been doing it for a long time. So that's how I typically play that until we get a few weeks in and have a better sample of what they're going to do this year. But I was very encouraged by Bond last week, of course. He had a great game.
He did, and it seems like he's definitely has Fangio's trust. Even through the preseason, it sounded like he was the guy, and now that he's got a little production on it, it's going to probably be hard to take him off the field. What a weird situation, too, with Devin White with his ankle injury, and then Nakobe Dean being a starter who outplayed him, but then, much like Queen, had a very inefficient game. So we'll kind of see how that kind of plays out. But, I'm going to go with Levante David here. I think the matchup versus Detroit's going to be a good one. They're gonna run the ball. Just very consistent, and David's going to be the only one true linebacker in Tampa Bay. I know that KJ Britt was kind of swapping some time with Servoise Dennis a little bit. So David's going to be on the field a lot. So I think David's the easy, safe call this week here. So thanks, War Clouds. Question from Nick. Linebacker Quay Walker versus Indy. Kaiser White versus the Rams or El Shire versus Chicago. I need 2 points for a tackle. Worried for the number of offensive snaps Chicago and Houston keeping El Shire on the sidelines for. I have my 2 in mind, Eric. I'm going to let you go first here.
I'm going to play Kaiser for sure against the Rams. Walker versus Shire is a little bit trickier for me. After one game, I think I'd still go Al Shire versus Chicago instead of Walker against Indy, even though Indy's going to run a ton. Those two are kind of a toss-up to me. I mean, Chicago's also going to run. Is Keenan Allen healthy? Is Rome Odunze healthy? They might have to lean on the run a little bit more this week. That second one's a tough one. I'd lean Al Shire.
Yeah, Kaiser White's going to be my easy leg for sure. He's the Rams have a very porous offensive line, so they're gonna he's going to have an opportunity to do some big splash plays as well. But I'm actually, like you had mentioned to Eric, you alluded to Indianapolis just running the ball. I don't think the Packers offense is going to do a lot this week with Malik Willis under center. I think it's going to be kind of fourth quarter. Indianapolis is going to be salting this one away, running the ball a lot. So I actually am leaning towards Walker just because of game script, possibly. I haven't seen enough from Chicago. Their offense did nothing in week 1. I think they only had like 130 yards of offense. Caleb Williams had under 100 yards of passing offense. So, and it was their offense or their defense and special teams that won them the game. So I'm gonna go with like Nick here and say like they're worried about the game script with Chicago and Houston. I'm gonna lean Kaiser White and Walker for that reason. So
let's see that.
thanks for the question. Nick Summers got a question. Got to choose one here. Doesn't say scoring. Okay, so we got Owusu, Quay Walker, EJ Speed, or Terrell Dodson. For me, it's between Speed or Dodson. I think Speed is vastly underrated. I think he should definitely be getting more love than he is right now. But I love Dodson wearing the green dot in Seattle. Seattle's going to be playing New England, which, you know, if you kind of think the game script kind of thing, Speed's going to be playing the Packers, who I don't think, like I just kind of said, isn't going to be probably on the field as much as we would love for them to be with that ineffective Packer offense, as painful as that is to say. Sorry, Kyle. I'm leaning Dodson here in this one, I think. So
I agree with that. Against New England, who was run heavy last week, I imagine they will be again. Ramondre they just ran him into the defense over and over again. So I would lean Dodson on this one as well.
All right. Someone's got a follow-up question. Needing two of these, Keon White, Carl Granderson, or Latu. So Keon White's for sure for me.
Yeah, I was going to say Keon White for sure. Latu had kind of limited snaps last week, but while he didn't produce sacks, he got some pressure. You hope that grows week 2, but do you know if it's going to? So I'd probably leave Granderson over him for another week just to I just don't know what that snap count's going to look like this week, and until I see it, I'll go with Granderson against the Cowboys.
Yeah, 100% here. Sticking with that game script narrative with Latu being limited on snaps anyway from a rookie perspective, playing behind Kwity Paye, I just think that he's going to see fewer snaps there, plus playing against the Packers, like we've already mentioned a couple times here. It's Granderson for me is for the second spot. So good luck, Summer. Gregory, any thoughts on Demarion Overshown snap share today? He had quite the week last week. He what do you have, 7 tackles and a sack or something like that? So I think he's vastly outplayed Damone Clark. I think that's probably going to only grow for him on that defense in that next to Eric Kendricks. So
yeah, they mixed it up pretty good, but Overshown got more than Clark last week, and I think that should continue and maybe even widen up a little bit after last week's performance. But I would still be looking for a better option if you had them. Don't know what your team looks like or what the scoring looks like, but he's playable for sure.
If you had to put like a linebacker label on him, like where would you kind of put him right now, Eric? As Overshown as a linebacker?
I would say, looking at your team, like a linebacker 3.
Yeah. Okay. So looking in that like second tier, 25th linebacker to 36. Obviously, there's probably some better options, but definitely had a great week 1. So we'll go that route. So back to Fantasy Guy Sports. Hi guys. How would you rank these linebackers for the rest of the season? Dodson, Cashman, or Long Jr.? Is that Dodson from Buffalo or Dodson from Seattle?
I imagine it's Seattle.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to be without the Dodson from Buffalo for a couple weeks, it sounded like, with a pec strain.
That's Bernard, not Dodson.
Oh, Terrell Bernard. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, the Dodson was the one that was in Buffalo, not Seattle.
Yeah.
I have my favorite on this list, and it's Long Jr. Wearing the green dot. Miami had a really good game on Thursday night, playing a lot of snaps. I don't see a reason why he's gonna come off the field much. It'll be interesting to see what their offense is going to be continuing without Tua. That might play a little bit of a role. That might make him be on the field a little bit more than they had originally hoped or planned. But I would rank them actually the opposite of what you have them on there. Long, I like Cashman, and he's kind of an underrated green dot guy in Minnesota in that Zimmer defense. And then I would go Dodson there. So, Eric, thoughts on how you'd rank those?
I do like Long a lot. It'll be interesting to see him and why am I drawing a blank on the guy from Seattle that went over to Miami?
Baker?
No.
Oh, Brooks, Jordan Brooks.
Brooks, yeah. Baker was actually stuck in my head because they kind of switched spots. But, yeah, Jordan Brooks, they're both played 100% of snaps, so it's kind of interesting to see how that's going to pan out. I think Brooks has been good at getting a bunch of tackles in the past, but I think I like Long too, as long as he can stay healthy, which has been a concern in the past. I'd probably go, I'm going to go Long, Dodson, Cashman. It's close though. They're all.
Why is Dodson your least, or why Cashman is your least favorite?
I like them all. I don't dislike any of them. I don't really have an answer for that at this point.
Okay.
It's too early in the season to really know how things are going to play out. I like Dodson a lot. I don't know. Those two I could flip back and forth on. I'm not sure at this point. Not strong feeling on either way on that. I like Dodson in Seattle's defense.
Yeah, taking over for Wagner, wearing the green dot, he was definitely doing great things last week in Seattle. So we had a follow-up question with the Dodson one here. Is Dodson good to go? He was questionable the entire week. Layes, I heard he was limited in practice. He's a little banged up, but he's going to be good to go this week. So if you can't imagine you have a lot of better options than Dodson this week. He's pretty decent, solid LB2, probably upside with LB1. I'm gonna roll with him this week. The nice thing is that Seattle does play an early game, so if he does get ruled out, there's time to pivot to different options. So they do play the noon game today against New England, excuse me. So maybe by the end of the show we'll have some updates on it. So we'll see. Ooh, here's an interesting one. We got from Hasham asking start Ashawn Robinson or Jesse Bates. So two vastly different players, right? Ashawn Robinson is the defensive lineman for the Carolina Panthers, who had an amazing week 1, and then Jesse Bates is playing on the back end of Atlanta's defense there. So Atlanta plays Monday night versus Philly. And then Carolina gets to play the Chargers at noon today. So without knowing any scoring, if it's tackle heavy, sack heavy, big play heavy, I almost have to lean Jesse Bates here just because of the opportunity for plays. Robinson had a great week 1. He's probably going to get leaned on heavily now with Derek Brown being out. DJ Woonem is still out for the Panthers, so they have a lot of snaps available to Robinson, but it's just hard for a defensive lineman to repeat tackle success like he had 7 or something like that last week. I think Jesse Bates playing the Eagles is going to be a much better chance for success there. So
I agree. And Jesse Bates played more in the box in the first week. Again, it's small sample size, just one game, but last year he was 16% box, and I think last week he was around 30%. So that also bodes well for his continued scoring.
all right.
I'd go Bates as well.
I have a feeling Zach Bond's going to be a heavily questioned player this week, just after the success of last week. We got Greg wants to know Zach Bond or CJ Mosley this week as his second linebacker. Eric, do you have a strong preference one way or the other?
I'm going Mosley. I think they're playing the Titans. Again, it's 1 week of Bond. I like him. I want to see it again, but Mosley up against the Titans. They're going to run the ball with Pollard, with Spears. You got Levis wanting to run the ball from the quarterback position. I want Mosley.
Do you feel that with game script, with Titans wanting to run the ball probably more so than Atlanta, probably being more pass happy to try to keep up with Philly in that game on Monday night?
Yeah. If Philly comes out and plays good offense like they did last week, I'm a Philly fan, so the end of last year still haunts me. But, I think that could be a tighter game than you think, as Atlanta kind of builds on their new offense, new defense with new coaching staff there. I think they're a decent team, so I don't think it should be a blowout by any means, but you never know. But I'd rather take, to me, Mosley's more of a sure thing than Bond. So rather than roll the dice, I'm gonna stick with Mosley.
Yeah, and Eric, we were talking a little bit before the show too about, week one is really tough to figure out because we know nothing about the preseason. A lot of these teams, they do the training camps and then they do the midweek practices. And then when they get to the weekend and they do the preseason games, we don't get to see the players play because the coaches already saw what they wanted to see during the week. And so we're going into the preseason or going into the week one, just kind of basing it off of like some loose camp notes. And then so week one hits, we have all of this like new information. Is it the trend? Is it what's going to happen or not? And so, week 2, week 3 is probably when we start figuring things out a little bit. Like, how are the defensive coordinators rolling out? Are they a 75% snap share linebacker? Are they closer to 80, or is it a 50-50 split? So, week 1 and week 2 are kind of like the litmus test, trying to figure things out. And then by week 3, it's probably a little bit better hold of like, okay, we kind of know what we're working with. We've seen, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So kind of get that idea. So by week 3, we're pretty much better about doing those things. SRM wants to know, pick 2, please. Kalen Carson, Christian Gonzalez, Mike Hilton, Riley Moss, or Alante Taylor. Picking 2. This sounds like a Johnny the Greek question, but it's really, really, really hard not to pick Mike Hilton for sure for one of these. He just seems to be very consistent playing Kansas City this week. If there's going to be a matchup where he's going to do well, that's probably the one. Looking at matchups too, I love Seattle's passing offense, so Gonzalez makes a lot of sense. Kalen Carson, who's been a favorite of mine, playing the Saints. Not really sure what we're going to get with the Saints offense there. But then I really like Riley Moss playing opposite Surtain. He's going to get a lot of throws his way. I just don't know if that Denver defense is going to be enough to make that sustainable. Riley Moss had 13 tackles or something crazy last week. So
10 or so. Yeah, he's a good young player. But yeah, I think he should get targeted a lot as long as he can hold off Levi Wallace. There too was more experience. But I mean, Moss was a 3rd-round pick at Denver. Coaching changed since, but they seem to like him just as much. But I think I'd have to go Hilton and Gonzalez is starting to become one of those where he could become one of those shutdown corner type guys.
Mm-hmm.
He played really well last week. Holding Jamar Chase. Now I know Jamar Chase is coming off a very short preseason, but I mean, Jamar didn't do much of anything against Gonzalez last week.
Didn't do much of anything.
Yeah, they didn't. They were kind of out of sorts. And of course, Taylor, blitzing from the slot looked really good last week too. Will they send him against the Cowboys to get some more pass rush? Cowboys line wasn't great last week. I think I'm going to go with 2 slot guys and go Hilton and Taylor for That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm with you as well. Hilton for sure. I think we could make an argument for all of these guys. But Hilton for sure. And then I'm going to go Taylor just because of that usage. Even last season, we saw him become pretty relevant. So I think those are your two options there for sure. So thanks, SRM, for the question. TM, which two safeties should I start between Hamilton, Curl, Delpit, and Quentin Lake? I also have Newman on waiver wire if he's a better option. Who should I drop? This is kind of an embarrassment of wealth at this position.
Yeah.
I can't see a world right now where you don't start Hamilton on a weekly basis.
Yep.
I was a little disappointed in Curl's usage last week. He played a little deeper than I would have thought preseason. And then Quentin Lake playing in that slot corner position, stuff like that, looked really, really solid. So it's going to be Hamilton for me. And I'm going to ride Curl one more week and just to see. I think he has a good bounce back game this week. So those would be my two options.
Yeah, Hamilton's the slam dunk here. Yeah, Curl and Lake. If Lake is, well, he's a little dinged up. Gosh, Newman played well too. I don't know that you can go wrong with any of these guys, really. I'll agree with you and go Hamilton and Curl this week.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think you can go wrong with either. Delpit's the fourth option for me. It's between Curl and Lake for me. I like that Rams defense, especially now that Ernest Jones is gone. There's a lot more tackles up for grabs. Like I said, I'm going to ride Curl one more week just to kind of see what's up. So, hey, we got a legend. Legend's calling in here, Eric. We better get this one right. So Bobby Reynolds wants to know Mac Wilson or Leo Chenal as my LB3 in the XFL. Longtime fan. We're a longtime fan too, Bobby. So I have been a Mac Wilson thumper since he got traded to Arizona. I know he didn't play a full complement of snaps, but he was very efficient in the snaps that he played in. The outside of Bolton, I'm still a Bolton truther in Kansas City. I know they got Tranquil there. Chenal is there. I just don't know. That's a tough thing to figure out, that Kansas City linebacking room outside of Bolton for me. So I'm going to take the clear answer for me with Wilson. So
yeah, he didn't have a huge snap share last week, Wilson, but I like Wilson. You know what you're going to get, where Chenal and Tranquil and Bolton, like you said, and Spagnola likes to mix things up and play matchups and change things up every week. I just don't know what to expect from Chenal and Mac Wilson up against the Rams again. And you're sure, I mean, it's just pretty much just him and White there. So do the Cardinals play a little bit more two linebacker this week because they're down Puka in LA and they've got, are they going to try to focus a little more on the run? Well, I guess we'll see, but with less competition there, I'm going to go with Mac Wilson.
another safety question for us. JK wants to know, picking two safeties for the rest of the season, Kyle Hamilton, Buda Baker, or Jaquan Brisker? Thank you. Hamilton and Brisker for me. I love Buda, but Brisker is just, I don't know. This has got the slot alignment for me that I like. He's playing near the line of scrimmage. Hopefully that offense is a little bit better, more competitive, but that's pretty easy for me. I've been higher on Brisker than most anyway, but probably
this early in the season, I'm going to stick with what I thought at the beginning of the year, and it's Hamilton and Brisker for me too.
How big of a gap is there for you?
What's that?
How big of a gap is there between Hamilton, Brisker, and Baker for you?
I not huge. I mean, Hamilton is the clear top one here. Baker and Brisker, a gap after Hamilton, and then Baker and Brisker a little bit closer to each other, but there's still a little bit of a gap for me. I want Brisker.
Any concern over Hamilton's production in week one? And I'm asking as a Hamilton
No, it's 1 week. It's one of those, you can't judge by 1 week after the year he had last year. It's just too small of a sample size. You look at a player, let's go to somebody that's played 2 games now, and Ed Oliver, with different position, but did not have a good week 1 and came out and had a really good week 2 against the Dolphins. So week to week, or this early in the season, you just can't put too much stock in 1 week. You're looking at snap shares and things like that a little bit more. So I'm going to go with what we thought all off season here, and it's Hamilton and Brisker.
Eric Harms, the voice of reasons, people. The voice of reason. Got a one off of Twitter here. We'll jump this one in. Music Z asked Jonathan Grenard, Harold Landry, Jermaine Johnson at D-line this week, picking 2. I'm kind of blinded by my Jermaine Johnson love, but and I know Grenard didn't have a very statistical game last week. He did have some pressures, but didn't get home on any of them. So eventually those pressures are going to amount to sacks and tackles. So I'm going to go Grenard and Jermaine Johnson, but Eric, unless you have insider trading info on Harold Landry this week.
Well, I can see the future, so
perfect. That's why you're here.
No, I like Landry. I'd start Landry against the Jets, and it was pick 2.
Yes.
Yeah, Landry and Johnson for me. Again, the Titans are. I don't know what to expect from that offense right now. Levis holds the ball too long. I think Johnson can get home this week. Grenard had somewhat of a rough week counting stats wise but I think that's going to switch around here some point. But I still am going Landry and Johnson.
Yeah, and now I just look too. Grenard has a really tough matchup versus San Francisco. They've got probably one of the most premier offensive lines. Maybe get a little, they might have a lot of running opportunity to get some tackles that way. But now that you look at it that way, yeah, Grenard makes sense to be the third option this week. That Jermaine Johnson, the Jets and Titans game might be kind of a defensive slugfest there in that one. So
we'll see.
Should I bench Zaire Franklin versus Green Bay and start Cashman over him? So this is kind of one of those game script questions, I think. It's really tough to bench Franklin. Green Bay is, like we mentioned earlier, it's going to be without Jordan Love for probably at least another week. There was some speculation that he was going to play this week, but then they kind of ruled him out at the very end. I love Cashman this week, especially against San Francisco. I think they're very committed to the run, even without CMC. We saw Jordan Mason last week have 24, 25 carries. They're going to pound the rock. I feel that Cashman over Franklin this weekend, and EJ Speed is nothing to like sneeze at, because he's definitely a very solid linebacker in his own right. So Cashman's playing 100% of snaps. Ivan Pace is the one coming off the field. Cashman for me, Eric, unless you got something different.
It's close. It's real close. I think you're in good shape either way. I would lean slightly Franklin against Green Bay with Willis starting at quarterback, but it's a close one. Can't really fault you for either way on that one. I'd lean Franklin.
Some good linebackers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. And we're never wrong, too. We just split the difference.
We just keep
we're going to be at 100 this week. Yeah,
keep disagreeing.
Yeah. So, question here about what do we do with Ernest Jones? So, obviously, Ernest Jones didn't play a full complement of snaps. Came out this week and said he's learning more of the defense. He's going to definitely be increasing his role, probably at the expense of Jack Gibbons. So I think it's probably one more week, depending on your league size. If I'm starting 3 or 4 linebackers or 3-4 linebackers and 2 flex, Ernest Jones is probably going to have to be in my lineup. But if I'm only starting 2 or 3 linebackers, I'm hopefully have a better option for like another week or two. But I can definitely see by probably week 4, Jones probably playing close to 100% of snaps. So if you can hold out another week without starting him, D, I think you and all the other managers who have Jones on their roster are going to kind of reap the rewards.
That is exactly right. I agree with that 100%.
Perfect. Another 100% question. I love it. Love it. TM, can Mac Wilson earn a full-time role? He was very effective last week. Go ahead, Eric.
I don't know if it's about earning it or not. I think it's just their scheme. Again, it's just 1 week. We'll see. It may be that they only play their second linebacker 70% of the time. I don't think he's going to pass Kaiser White. So I guess I would say I don't think he'll earn a full-time role, but I think he'll be close. And then some weeks maybe he gets that 75 to 80 depending on the matchups. But I think he's going to typically be a 60 to 70% range.
Yeah, and like you said, with the scheme that they played, the other part of this is Wilson probably could earn a full-time role. Kaiser White hasn't been the most healthy player over his tenure, and so there's an opportunity. You know, we saw Kaiser White go down last year, and so Mac Wilson could be that full-time role if that were to happen. But I think here he can be efficient with his limited snaps and just do more with less. So I love Wilson as like a linebacker 4 or flex option in leagues. He's a very, very safe play, I think, there. So we're going to jump down. We had another question about what do we do with Ernest Jones. So D and Diego were kind of thinking the same kind of thing, what we were thinking here. So hopefully answer is the same for both.
Hold for now.
Yes. Yep. Another safety question. Kyle Hamilton is popping up on a lot of these safety questions. So hopefully he does something in week 2 here to help us out. So pick 2, Kyle Hamilton, Antonio Johnson, Quentin Lake, or Julian Love. So SRM.
That's pretty easy for me. Hamilton, don't overreact to week 1. I mean, players have up and down games at times. They're not going to score 20 to 30 points every game. He had a down week first week, but don't freak out about that yet. And then my second one would be Julian Love. Had a really good game the first week. Those would be my 2. What do you think, Jeff?
For me too. Yep. I've been all in on Love for ever since the summer. Jace Abbey and I did a defensive back who we were buying show, and he was my buy, even though he was pretty expensive. He was going at the back end of the safeties, round 1 or a safety 1. Just super consistent at an inconsistent position. Like over the last 3 years, he's been top 12. So definitely Hamilton showing the love today. So thanks SRM for the question. War Clouds has wow, this is a tough. You got to sit 1. Crosby, Garrett, or Jones. So he must be playing one of those 2-team leagues. So
yeah. Well, typically,
I think you almost have to sit Jones, right?
Yeah, you have to sit Jones, just mostly because he plays mostly inside. He does leak out to the outside sometimes, but you, in general, want the edge guys over the interior guys. So I'd go Crosby and Garrett.
Yeah, those are 3 great options. All D-line ones there, but Crosby and Garrett are probably closer to the one this week. So
yep.
Nick L has a question about a wide receiver starting Godwin versus Detroit or Rashee Rice over Cincinnati. I love Godwin this year. I think he played like it was over 50% of his snaps last week in the slot. Mayfield had a great game. That Detroit secondary is kind of think where you beat them, trying to get rid of the ball quickly, especially with Hutchinson coming after Baker Mayfield. I think they're going to try to get rid of the ball quick, and you do it quickly over the middle, either to your tight end or your slot receiver. So for me, it's Godwin.
I love that they're put Godwin back in the slot this year. More, I think he fits really well there. And I mean, they're both solid plays. Without Hollywood Brown, who's now out for the regular season, at least it sounds like. Yeah, I would lean very slightly Godwin here over Rushy. This close for me.
All right. Curtis wants to know, go or no? Buckner for the Colts. Even if he plays, he may not be a full go. My backup is Zach Allen for Denver. So Buckner he's listed as questionable. Got in a limited practice yesterday. Or do we go with the Zach Allen option in Denver?
Both are playing against running quarterbacks this week. Packers have a little bit better offensive line than the Steelers, but Buckner is tremendous talent in the middle there. I guess I don't know how healthy he is, but
I almost think if he suits up and
I would
gonna play,
Buckner,
yeah, I would play Buckner. Especially it's a noon game, we know, so he'll know if he's going to play, then you almost have to start him.
Yeah.
So. But then you have that second option. If he doesn't play, then you've got the option to play Denver at the 3:25 game. So that's
right.
Good. So good luck to you,
situation
Curtis.
To be in. To have a good backup ready to go.
Yeah, usually it's the opposite when I have my lineup questions like that. So over on Twitter, Robin Hood asks, do we have any further indication as to whether Kirby Joseph will start today? I'm already down Bland and Winfield at defensive back. Anyone worth picking up who is likely to be on waivers at defensive back? One of the last questions we just had Antonio Johnson as a option there. He is really, really low rostered percentage at this point. Starting strong safety for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they just had Darrell Savage as a no-go this week. So he would probably be off the top of my head, one of the probably easiest players to maybe go to your waivers and see if it's available, Antonio Johnson. I haven't heard anything lately to indicate if Joseph is in or out, probably then since Friday. Eric, do you have a defensive back?
I might actually start Johnson over Kirby Joseph anyway, if he was out there. And then Tyler Newman's another one that's been mentioned already. If he's on your waiver wire, that would be another potential spot there as a safety. But yeah, I would. I don't know what Joseph's status is at this point, but definitely worth looking for a couple of those guys on the waiver wire. If you tell us who's on the waiver wire in the comments, maybe we can help you out.
Yeah, I just sent him a message asking him if he could shoot us some names. That kind of a little easier sometimes just than blindly trying to throw names out.
Yeah.
So, but if he's looking at Kirby Joseph, it's probably a little bit deeper league. So, which is perfect. We love that kind of stuff. So, all right, Eric, it's probably my fault, but we are getting into a slew of questions. So we're going to try to go a little more rapid fire through some of these questions. So that way we have the games done by these questions done by noon. So
sounds good.
That's going to help some of our listeners out.
If we could get done in time for me to set my lineups, it'd be great.
Your lineups don't matter. You're working now. Yeah. You're working. So, Lucky Bird asked, not sure what combination I should go with here. I have the Ravens D, Jaguars D, Brock Bowers, and Evan Ingram. I usually don't worry so much about my players going against my defense. I always just try to pick the best situation for both. We've got the Ravens they're playing each other, and Jacksonville is playing Cleveland. I'm probably just going to stick with the Ravens and Brock Bowers here in this situation. Vegas worked Bowers into the lineup and game scheme pretty well. It looked like Trevor Lawrence found a new favorite toy last week in Brian Thomas. So I don't know how efficient or inefficient Evan Ingram is going to be this year. I know last year he was peppered with targets. So
yeah, I agree. It's okay. Ravens D and Brock Bowers for me.
Perfect. Carter has safety questions here. Cameron Bynum, Harrison Smith, or Von Bell this week. Assuming we're only starting one. Harrison Smith's stats were a little bumped up last week with that gift interception in the end zone. So I would have Bynum over Smith, but the question now is Bell over Bynum for me. And Eric, I'm going to give that to you.
I'm going to go Bynum against the 49ers versus it's tough. Von Bell's playing the Chiefs. Defense is probably going to be on the field quite a bit there too, but I had, again, Bynum higher preseason, so I'm sticking with Bynum.
I was leaning that way as well. Just wanted to make sure confirmation with the Oracle. So, all right, we got a question about Chin or Snead or McDuffie or Wilson or Cross. So I'm thinking all five are options for us. Chin was very disappointing last week. I know that everyone had him kind of as a bounce back play there. Snead just playing that corner spot is not probably as alluring as a safety as possibly. McDuffie is just amazing at this cornerback position.
Yeah, but he moved outside too with Shamari Connor going more slot.
Yep. Yeah, after Snead left to go to Tennessee, it was a natural move for McDuffie to go to the outside spot. I'm actually looking at Nick Cross on this list. Julian Blackman is out this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think he gets a lot of opportunity. He and Blackman both had great weeks last week. I know that they're playing the Packers, but someone's going to have to make some tackles there eventually. So of those options, I think Cross probably has the highest floor of any of them. If I'm going for a home run, probably McDuffie is probably my home run swing there. So,
yeah, I agree.
Hey, Clint, is that? Oh, yeah, perfect. Yeah. So Antonio Johnson or Newbin. It's almost like we saw that one coming. I'm going to Antonio Johnson. I'm not sure of Newbin's role, if he's 100% snap guy there yet. Between Dwayne Belton and Jason Pinnock, if he's going to be 100%. So I'm going to take the 100% guy every single time, and I'm going to go Antonio Johnson here.
I agree. Johnson for me as well.
All right.
Are we catching up?
We are, but we aren't. So Wade wants to know my DBs are Brian Branch, Javon Holland, Tony Adams, Quentin Lake, Tyler Newbin. Judging from the alignment, should I give up Javon if I only want 4 on my roster? Javon Holland was an amazing last year for the Dolphins, so it'd be really tough to quit on him. Tony Adams kind of came out of nowhere last week and had an amazing game for the Jets. It'll be interesting to see if he can repeat that success this week.
He played more in the box than any other safety. Sorry.
Yeah. And then Tyler Newbin is obviously the new shiny toy. Yeah, like you had mentioned, he had played in this box more than any other safety, which was kind of came out of nowhere unless I missed something. Like, Chuck Clark was supposed to be that thumper safety for them.
He played the second most snaps in the box of any safety in the league. Chuck Clark did. So they were playing heavy safeties in the box last week against the 49ers. Sounds like a strategy against the 49ers last week to me. Vikings are a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. The Titans probably also run heavy. So hard to say. Tony Adams kind of, like you said, came out of not nowhere, but he's seen the field before. But
and I think you said this earlier too, Eric, is like, don't put so much stock into week one.
Right.
It was just kind of seeing where we're at. Wade, if you can hold off a week and just kind of see what happens, if Tony Adams comes crashing back to earth, I think, like Eric said, we've seen Tony Adams on the field before. We kind of know who he is. And so was it just a flash in the pan week for Tony Adams, or, going into week 3, hey, we have 2 very solid weeks from Tony Adams. We kind of see what the alignment is going to look like for the Jets for their usage with him and for Chuck Clark. We know what we have. Okay, then we can make a decision in week 3. But if you are right now today having to cut one, I guess Holland would probably be the option there, right? Because Branch and Quentin Lake are playing
Or
very close to
Newbin.
the line of scrimmage. You would hate to give up on your new shiny toy in a draft with
Yeah.
Newbin. So
Depends if it's dynasty or if it's redraft, I guess. Holland does play back more. He's kind of depends on what your risk is. But Holland's more of a boom bust guy. If you want a more steady player every week, maybe he is the guy that you drop to get a guy that's just going to get you steady points every week. Whereas Holland, when he gets those interceptions and big plays, he can win you a week, but he can also not do a whole lot in some weeks.
So I just got a message here from Robin Hood following up with a question that he asked earlier about. Bring it back up here, maybe. Oh yeah, he was here. So
I agree with you,
about,
Jeff. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yep. So he had asked about already down Duron Bland and Winfield, starting Kirby Joseph. The options on the waiver wire for him right now are Jalen Petrie, Tony Adams, Riley Moss, Brian Murphy, Jalen Watson, Reek Wilson, or Nick Cross. Anyone stand out to you?
This week, I think Nick Cross over Kirby Joseph.
And I think even Tony Adams would be
Tony Adams too.
Option.
Yep. Riley Moss, but as we've talked about, it was 1 week. Had a great week. Could certainly continue across from Surtain, but I'd like to give that some more time, especially as an outside corner.
Yes. Yep. And like Johnny the Greek always says, they're always from week to week dependent and very boom bust. So, depending on what your team needs that week too, if you need a home run swing, or you just need some safe points. So, all right, let's go here. Thanks, Wade. Andrea, another question: Cashman or Demario Davis or Reeder or Devondre Campbell? Pretty easy for me on this one. I'm going Cashman 101 times out of 100.
I agree with you on this one.
Yes. Love it.
Like I said, I like Cashman. It wasn't that I didn't like Cashman.
Yeah.
They're just close.
I just think that Cashman is going to play 100% of snaps. Demario Davis has been kind of dinged up. Kind of that whole Saints linebacking room is kind of dinged up right now. If you listen to anything on the show about Reeder, where he's at as far as a player, I think there's T-shirts even going to have to get your Reeder T-shirt. So, and then Devondre Campbell's a great piece in that San Francisco defense, but Warner is just dominating right now in that room. So Cashman pretty easy for me. Tackle heavy league, we need to start 2 of these defensive linemen: Jonathan Cooper, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard, Jermaine Johnson, or Thibodeau. And Eric, I know you love Thibodeau, but just try to hold back a little bit on your love for him. Trying to answer this question. So
he's the last on this list for me.
Yes.
Want nothing to do with him right now.
Yeah. Cooper's a
slam dunk. I thought that preseason. Sorry.
Yes, you did. Because we did a defensive line show like way back in like early June, and you were already out on him then. So
yeah, I'm not a fan.
That's why I was giving you a little beef there. For me, it's Cooper and AVG in this one.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Who would be your third, Eric, in this one?
Jermaine Johnson, I think, slightly over Grenard. Yep.
Yes. Yep. Van Ginkel had a great week 1. I think that will probably continue. Of the 2, Grenard or Van Ginkel today versus San Francisco, I think he'll have a better chance to do well. And Cooper had an amazing week 1. Top 5, I think, in pressure rate and win rate and stuff like that. So really good story last year. Came on at the end of last season and continued that in 2024. Need to drop 1: Russo, Hunter, Keon White, or Grenard. This is probably a pretty easy one for you, Eric.
Yeah,
Grenard, huh?
I mean, it is. If it's redraft, I'm either way. I think I'm dropping Grenard.
Here's the points for that. So tackles are 5 points, assists are 3, sacks are 10, Fumbles are 7, recovered or forced. So looking at that list.
Well, I mean, if it's dynasty, it's Grenard for sure that I'm dropping. If it's redraft, it's between Grenard and Keon White. Keon White had a great first week, had a good snap percentage, so you assume that's going to continue. He's going to continue to get opportunities. You have Dallas Turner in Minnesota that could start to eat into Grenard's snaps a little bit more. I think I would drop Grenard here.
Same. I think Keon White's going to get a lot of run, especially now. We got some news this week that Barmore might be out for the entire season with the blood clots and things like that. I know that they're kind of moving all of those pieces around in New England along the board. So I really like White as a dark horse this year. So
yeah, he's a big dude that can rush from inside or the edge. So
yeah, it was fun to see them win last week. Not so fun for my survivor pool, but hey, we'll go. It's another story. So, Fez 10K wants to know: should I start Khalil Mack or EJ Speed? No scoring here, so not sure. It's always tough when you have two players in different positions. We just saw like in the last question about the scoring. Like, obviously, in that kind of league, Khalil Mack would be really tough to not start, especially with the scoring like that. But if scoring's the same for these two players, I almost have to go linebacker whenever I have a flex option between two of them, just because the opportunity for more tackles, just more consistency and speed. Like I've already confessed my love for him already today, so I'm full speed ahead there on that one. So
here's what I'd do. I'd look at your matchup. If it's a close matchup between you and another team, I'd go EJ Speed. If you need a lot of help this week, I'd go for the upside of Khalil Mack. If it looks like you're going to need, if you might need a 30, 40 point game out of somebody to have a chance. So it kind of depends on your matchup against who you're playing against.
Does that approach, Eric, change for you, like in the beginning of the season versus the end of the season? Like, like in the playoffs, you're like, you kind of know your matchups. I need a home run. So Khalil Mack, do you play a little different at the start of the season?
Yeah, it's a little bit less of a focus at the start of the season, but sometimes you can still see, especially in dynasties, if you're more of a rebuild, are you really trying to win? I don't know. But yeah, it's tougher at the beginning of the season to know how things are going to play out and who's good and who's not. But it's something to think about as you're making those decisions.
I agree. That's a great point too. Andrew wants to know: DeForest Buckner or Quinnen Williams or Keon White? We've already kind of mentioned Buckner as being kind of limited possibly in the game. It's really hard not to start Quinnen Williams every single week. Keon White's a cool story and a great option, but I think you're trying to be cute if you go White over Quinnen Williams in this one. So
yeah, agreed 100%.
Thank you, Diego. Appreciate it. Diego earlier asked about what do we do with Ernest Jones, and hopefully Nostradamus picked that correctly. Jacob wants to know: Javon Bullard or Kyler Duggar this week? Duggar has a bum ankle, and tackles for loss or solos are a big deal. So I even think with Duggar without having the bum ankle, Bullard played really, really well last week. Both safeties for the Packers played extremely well. Both very involved in the run game. And like we already mentioned, I think that with the game script, possibly you could see a lot of tackles for the Packers defense this week. And I kind of like Bullard this week.
Yeah, I agree. And that's another guy that could be on a waiver wire. I can't remember who it was earlier, but that's look for Bullard too. That'd be a good play as well.
Is Greenlaw LB1 once he returns? I'll let you answer first, Eric, on this one. I have my thoughts on Greenlaw.
I don't know. He's not one of the top 12 linebackers. I'd put him in that linebacker 2 to 3 range. But no, I don't think he's an LB1.
Yeah,
First of all, I don't think he was an LB1 before he got hurt. And then coming off an injury, how soon is he going to be fully healthy? Is he going to be fully healthy at all this year? I just don't.
Yep. 100%. Playing opposite of Warner like he does. And not only that, but he literally got hurt in the latest game that he possibly could get hurt in. And Achilles, we don't have a lot of data about players coming back from those injuries yet. I know the explosiveness is zapped, and there's like this like progression. It takes like so many months to regain 60, 80, 90%, and as you get closer to 100%, those gains aren't coming back as much, and so all the data and all the history are kind of against Greenlaw in this case. So if I'm rostering Greenlaw, any positive news that comes out, I'm trying to flip for a future pick, any kind of play and stuff like that. We've mentioned it before too, just about like, we're always going to find the next linebacker. We're always going to find the next, like it's hard to distance yourself from players. Like I love Greenlaw as a player. I had him in several leagues and things like that, but we almost have to kind of separate ourselves and almost treat our dynasty leagues and things like that as a redraft more so, and just be much more willing to move on from players. So, I'm not opposed to Greenlaw returning. I'd love to see him playing again, just as a fan of football, but I think the odds are definitely stacked against him. So, all right, Drew, questions from last week coming back again this week, so we appreciate it. We got thoughts on Atlanta's linebacker room. Who's talented? Who's just at the right place at the right time? Some concerns over the Cowboys. Overshown showed up. Is it more likely a fluke? So this week, the Atlanta room is probably a little clearer than normal. I know that Landon's already been ruled out for the week. So it probably makes Ellis a little much more safe option. And then also you have to look at Troy Anderson as being an option this week. So those are probably two very safe options this week. Some concerns over Cowboys. Overshown definitely did show up. We mentioned him earlier. I don't think it's a fluke though. I definitely think he is going to be growing percentage wise in that room as Damone Clark loses snaps. So,
and Damone Clark was coming off an injury himself. There is I have a little bit of a concern. I mean, if Overshown continues to play like he did first week, I think he's safe. If he doesn't, then I think there's room for Clark as he gets healthier and healthier to maybe dip into that snap share a little bit. But hopefully Overshown continues to play. But again, it's a 1 week sample, so we'll see.
And Overshown's overcoming an injury of his own too. Right? He had an ACL injury early last season, cost him the entire season. So, all right. So Drew's got a couple here. I'm not quite sure. Drew's asking Justin Simmons, Deshaun Elliott, or Jermaine Johnson.
Probably John Johnson the
third.
third.
John Johnson for the Rams. Yeah. Or Nixon. Of those, I'm going to lean Nixon. Nixon had a great week one. Also gets that return yardage bonus if that becomes an option for him there. So if those are the 3-4 choices, I'm leaning Nixon there. So
yeah, and the Titans did their average kickoff was not in the end zone last week. So if that's any sign of things to come, Nixon should have some opportunities to return some kicks. That would be the way I would go.
Ben's asking, good morning. Good morning, Ben. Pick two linebackers here. Jordan Hicks, Shaq Thompson, Eric Kendricks, EJ Speed. Thanks for the time. I'm going to go Kendricks and Speed for me.
Yep.
Shaq Thompson had a great week one. Hicks is kind of dinged up and stuff like that. Kendricks played amazingly well, even though he didn't play 100% of snaps. I think he came off with like a little bit of a hand injury, but he said he was good to go. He came back in, and the game was kind of out of hand there for a while, so no reason to have him out there.
Yeah, I agree. It's Kendricks and Speed for me.
Eric,
it was kind of crazy that JOK got the 100% of snaps and Hicks didn't. He was a little banged up, but Be interesting to see if that continues, but that's another reason to not choose Hicks here quite yet and see how things play out with Cleveland.
Yeah, he battled a mysterious injury all preseason, so that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, they don't
Eric,
tell anybody what it was.
Yeah, no one ever said anything. So, Eric, you know you made it when this happens.
Oh boy,
we've officially arrived. Woo, we did it.
Wonder which take that was.
That was at 9:40. That was probably you.
It was probably me saying Dodson over Cashman.
There you go. Darren Taylor or Van Winkle this week? Is Taylor the one that got traded from the Bears to Seattle? Or, no, that was another Taylor.
Darryl Taylor. I think that's who he probably means.
Yeah.
I
think you got to go with Van Ginkle. Yeah, Van Winkle. Good luck to you, Ryan. Logan Anderson, Zach Bond, Quinnen Williams, or Demario Davis. Thanks.
I wonder again, since all the rest are linebackers, if you met Quinnen or Quincy.
Yep.
Or if this is for a flex spot.
Let's go both ways. Let's answer it both ways. Okay. If we're picking one of these players, if I need a safe play this week, I'm going Logan Wilson. If I want to swing for the fences, I'm going Bond. Whether that's Quincy or Quinnen Williams, that's how I'm leaning.
Agreed. Safe play, I might go Quincy over Logan Wilson for safe play, if that's the way you're wanting to go. If it's Quincy Williams.
Brian's asking Cam Bynum or Kyle Duggar for my defensive back spot. Duggar's questionable tag has me nervous. I think Bynum has a great matchup with San Francisco. Regardless of the questionable tag, I might lean Bynum here just because of that. We saw San Francisco provide plenty of opportunities in the run game last week for players to make tackles. Tony Adams from the safety spot had, set the waiver wire world on fire this week with his performance. So, definitely in the place to do that once again. So, Van Ginkel's floor with 49ers, but no sack. Jets safety scores. Sorry, Drew, I'm not following you on that one, but if you want to clarify, that'd be great. Fantasy sports coming back again. Which two should I start? McConkey, Robinson, Pierce, Zeke, or Christian Watson?
I think I would stay away from Watson this week with Willis starting at quarterback. Probably go Zeke and McConkey.
That's where I was leaning to. I know Pierce had an amazing play, but it was kind of a highlight play that kind of changed his week. Without that play, would he have like 3 catches for 30 yards or something like that? Yeah. Zeke, based on volume, I think McConkey gets his share. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Rams now with Puka out. There's a lot of options there. They've got that Whittington. They got Robinson, and then now they also have Tyler Johnson too. So
yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Got to get this one right. Jake's asking, pick one: Nate Hobbs, Von Bell, or C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Eric, do you have a preference on?
I'm looking at their matchups quick. I know the Eagles have Atlanta. Cincy has the Chiefs. The Raiders have the Ravens, right? Mm-hmm. I'd say I might lean Von Bell here, actually. It's kind of surprising me. I don't trust the Ravens to throw the ball to the receivers much, and other than Flowers, of course.
Does Hobbs get a little bit of play being in that slot spot, helping out
Yeah,
with
I mean,
run with
he'll
Lamar?
probably be on Flowers quite a bit. That's a tough one, Jake. Thanks for that.
Yeah. I'm leaning Bell. I don't know what CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to be doing with Philly. We didn't see a lot of great alignment from him in week 1.
Right.
For me, it's between Von Bell and Hobbs, and I think you kind of swayed me to go Bell. So, yeah. Jake, good luck. We'll see you next week. Caden Ellis or EJ Speed, Chef Curry.
EJ for me on this one.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with EJ for just being consistent. Ellis is a little tempting here just with the game script possibly for the Colts and not having Landman next to him. Caden Ellis played 100% of snaps for the Falcons. He was the only linebacker to do that last week, so I'm not concerned about that. It basically just kind of comes down to game script. Do you think that the Falcons on Monday night are going to be on the field more, playing against more snaps than the Colts are going to be on Sunday versus the Packers? So, and I'm gonna go opposite here, Eric. I'm gonna take Caden Ellis just because Ellis is playing 100% of snaps, and then also that possibility of game script for him. So, Drew Keenan or Wendell Robinson? Oof, this is brutal because I'm in the same boat. Keenan's playing late, already dinged out, questionable with a heel injury. Didn't practice Thursday, Friday. And then you have a receiver on the Giants not named Malik Neighbors. So.
He did get quite a few catches last week. Wandale did. And there seems like they have a decent matchup this week.
They play Washington. So, and they're at
Washington's not a great defense yet. Give Quinn some time, but I'd be nervous about Keenan if you miss Friday. A lot of times you're not gonna play, but Odunze I know is also game time,
so that's tough.
Yeah, Odunze is also game time decision. So I
almost think you got to lean Wendell here.
Yeah, I think you got to go with Robinson with the unknowns.
Yep. Kendricks or Roquan Smith this week. Despite Roquan's, I think you almost have to go Roquan here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Drew agrees. We always got Roquan always. So Ben, pick 3 of these defensive linemen: Jonathan Cooper, who's a favorite of ours, Jared Verse, Wilkins, Josh Sweat, Armstead, Derek Hall.
Pick 3. I'm going to go right down. The first 3 there, I think, are the 3 that I would take. That Baltimore line lost a little bit this year from what they've had in years past. I trust that they'll get them playing great, but they always have. But I like Wilkins this week, and then Verse and Cooper. I'm a Sweat fan. Had a great start to last year, and then down the stretch just kind of disappeared. And there was all that turmoil on the team. You kind of wonder how much that had to do if the coaching staff on the defensive side, well, both sides really had lost the team or not. They made changes at both coordinator positions. So I still like Sweat, but I think I would wait, and I'd go Cooper versus Wilkins.
Yep, same. Appreciate that. All right. Nick, start 2 DBs. Curl. I don't know what that 026 is. Branch. Drop an injured Blackman for Antonio Johnson or hold for now. I would not probably be dropping Blackman for any reason. He'll probably be back. I know that the team just signed Ronnie Harrison from the practice squad today, so that makes Nick Cross look probably a lot better. I think you can just sit and wait. Curl and Branch are great options for you. I don't think there's a need or any indication that Blackman's injury is anything long-term. So I think you're probably pretty safe drop keeping Curl and Branch and just waiting for Blackman as your third safety. So
I agree. It kind of depends on the depth in your waiver wire too. If you think Blackman might still be there when he's coming back, if you needed the depth for now, not a bad play. But if your waivers for safeties is kind of sparse, I don't think I'd throw Blackman back.
Brian's question: I have Daniil Hunter and Bobby Owen, my defensive line spot and linebacker spot. Should I be nervous about either of them after last week? I have Jermaine Johnson. I could sub in for either of them. I think, Eric, you nailed it really well. Preseason, Daniil Hunter and Bobby O were definitely top options at their position. It's 1 week. Let's not get too crazy or too cute in week one. Let's give it 2 weeks, and then we have some data points to go on, and we can start to see some real trends in lineups and alignment and things like that. So I think, Brian, you stick with Daniil Hunter and Bobby Okereke this week for those two spots.
Yeah, Hunter's ADP was probably between 7 and 9 in the first round pick in the IDP best balls, IDP only. And Bobby O was an early second rounder most times. So yeah, I would keep them in my lineup.
Perfect. Well, Alex Singleton, Kaiser White, CJ Mosley, 4 points for a sack, 7 points for picks in this league. I almost think you go Singleton and CJ Mosley.
I agree.
Okay. It's hard to have Singleton sitting on your bench with any reason. Singleton or Fred Warner. Oof.
Oh, that's a good spot to be in.
Yes, it is. So Denver gets a matchup with
Pittsburgh, right?
Pittsburgh. So pretty run-heavy team. So probably a lot of tackle opportunities. San Francisco is going to be playing Minnesota. I don't know if their offense is going to look as good as it did last week versus the Giants, but the Giants might be making a lot of teams look good.
I'd probably lean Singletary.
Yep, I think so too. I think that's the game script.
Against a run-heavy Pittsburgh team, he may get 20 tackles this week.
In the first half. Dodson or Bond for Ryan Kelly. He wants to know which linebacker. Safe play is Dodson for me. Home run for Bond.
Yep.
But it'll be interesting to see, like, next week when we answer questions like this, it'll be closer to, Bond being a safe play. It's tough that he kind of came out of nowhere because he never played this role before. So.
Yep. Yeah, he was mostly on the edge previously, and now he's playing off ball.
Yeah, all of his time in college, and then when he was playing for the Saints too. Would you start Blankenship over Nixon?
Probably not this week. I think if you get kickoff return yardage, I don't think between that and his slot usage, I'd probably start Nixon. If you don't get kickoff return yardage, I'd start Blankenship.
Yeah, and I think just the game script too. I think Nixon's going to be on the field quite a bit, playing indie team that's going to be on the field a lot. So I like Nixon this week. You're welcome, T-Mac. Thank you for checking in. Dan Henley, KJ Britt, or Jelani Tavai. So Henley is just in a really tough spot. They're literally rotating all three linebackers, Colson and Perryman, literally every other snap. So the snap share is going to be tough there. I know that KJ Britt was a tough one last week with coming off the field for Servoise Dennis. And Jelani Tavai is just kind of Jelani Tavai things. So I'm going to give KJ Britt one more chance just to be what I had thought he was going to be after the last 3 games of last season. Everything I heard this preseason with training camp between Antonio Winfield talking him up, head coach was talking him up. So I'm going to give Britt one more chance to hurt me.
I think I'm going to go Tavai on this one.
Bryce wants to know how we feeling about Hamilton. Picked up Cross, but planning to hold just in usage before plugging him in. So like you said, Eric, before, it's 1 week. He's the guy. He's going to be DB1 by the end of the season, providing health. Try not to get too cute in week 1. So Brandon wants to know Connor or Pollard in full PPR. I like Connor just because he's going to get.
He's got a bigger
the
snap
volume.
share until Benson gets up to speed at least, but I think Connor will be 70-80% most weeks. Pollard's going to be 50-50 with Spears. They actually said after this last week, the coach said that he should have got Spears in a little bit more and made it more even. So I'd go Connor.
Perfect. Thanks, Brandon. Drew, Antonio Johnson or Von Bell? Von Bell has been a popular name for answers today. I'm going to continue the Von Bell train today.
Yep, agreed. It's close.
Yeah, Antonio Johnson is sneaky good. I think he'll be a great play this week. But are we holding Mosley, thinking of adding Keon White? So, Jesse, this is kind of a question based on, league, how many you start, what's the scoring, that kind of thing. I would find it really difficult to let a player of Mosley's caliber go. He's probably one of the more consistent linebackers over the last few seasons. Solid linebacker 2, if not LB1, most weeks, most seasons. So unless there's a scoring or, I would find that very hard to do. If you are going to let Mosley go, I would try trading as an option if you were really set on adding Keon White. So.
And is it Keon or Kaiser? Is this a shallower league where that could be Kaiser White?
Oh, there you go.
Either way, I'm probably holding Mosley for now.
Yeah. Good call on that one. That was probably more so Kaiser White. Terrell Dodson, shoulder. Troy Reader, or Jack Campbell. Dodson worries me about the shoulder. I think if he plays and we have a noon kickoff, so we're going to know, I would roll Dodson. If he's well enough to play, they're not going to put him at injury risk in week 2. Reader is just Reader, and Jack Campbell has been kind of a disappointment. We kind of were told earlier in the preseason that he was going to be the green dot guy, who's going to be 100%. We didn't see that in week 1, so I'm going to have to go Dodson until they shut him down.
Agree.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Thanks for checking in each week. Hopefully we help you get some dubs. Not Nixon, sorry. Oh, okay. Ben wants to know, picking one, Matthew versus Dallas, Keyshawn Nixon versus Indy, or Brandon Jones versus Pittsburgh as a safety. What do you think here, Eric?
Nixon. And I like Matthew a lot. I've talked about him in the preseason too, but it's Nixon, especially if you get kickoff return points. That just boosts him even more.
I agree. Good luck to you, Ben. Ryan, Blankenship, Hamilton, or Derwin? You can play 2. Hamilton and Derwin pretty easily for me here.
Yep.
Good luck to you, Ryan. Jesse, good morning, gentlemen. Which of these 2 of 3 would you be starting? Baron Browning, KJ Britt, or Xavier Collins?
So 2, I would start. I think I'd go Browning and Britt. I'm not sold on Collins yet. He had some good tackles last week. He had 0% win rate. So his pass rushing just still is not there. I know the Rams offensive line is beat up, but I think I would go Browning and Britt here.
I think so too. Just the consistency of snap shares. Like you mentioned, Collins is just still really learning the position. He was drafted as a linebacker, and they're kind of thrusting him in that defensive line role almost out of necessity in Arizona. So go that route. Ethan wants to know, starting McLaurin, Pollard, or Brian Thomas Jr. in a flex spot. I like the usage that Pollard got in week 1. But Eric, you kind of threw some cold water on that, saying that Spears is going to get a little more run this week.
Well, that was coach speak. We'll see.
There's no such thing as coach speak. So I do think that they have a tough matchup this week with the Jets. I think that they're definitely going to have something to prove this week after definitely not going to want to go 0-2, especially in the AFC East. That's going to be a tough division. For me, it's between Pollard and Brian Thomas Jr. Cleveland does have some pretty good secondary pieces. I'm probably going to lean Pollard here in this case, just on volume.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He caught the ball pretty well last week too, coming on the backfield. So
he was banged up quite a bit last year, so he had a disappointing year for the Cowboys, but he looks a little bit more explosive again this year. So I'm thinking there was something to the rumors that he played banged up all last year.
As long as Levis doesn't have another one as Ole throws, we're in good shape. No worries, Ethan. We're happy to help you out. So hopefully you answered it correctly. DTS, we're keeping Isaiah McDuffie in the lineups with his 100% of week 1 snaps over Matt Collins and his 60% snap share. I'm starting to get a little worried about Isaiah McDuffie. I know that during the preseason he was like great value. He's going to be in lineups, but again, coach speak again this week. Sounded like McDuffie was going to start to cede some snaps to Edgerrin Cooper. Cooper played really well in his snaps and stuff like that. I'm probably going to lead Mac Wilson just because I think by this time next week, those snap share percentages are probably going to be closer than they are right now. So,
yeah, I think it's tough this week. I think down the road it's probably Mac Wilson.
Yeah, that's a great point to get this week.
Kind of a toss-up this week. Does McDuffie still get 70 to 80% against the Titans? Maybe.
You mean Indianapolis?
Or Indianapolis, sorry.
Yeah. I do love Mac's matchup this week versus Arizona, or with the Rams.
Yeah.
They're an offense that's on the field a lot. They have a lot of plays, so there's a lot of opportunity for tackles and things like that. So I will take Mac Wilson in a 60% snap share, probably playing more snaps than Isaiah McDuffie. So good luck to you this week, DTS. Roger wants to know, I am Bates, Branch, choose 2 at defensive back. I'm not familiar with the first one in my
K-Ham.
Oh, Kyle Hamilton. Okay,
yep.
Yeah. Hamilton. There you go. Again, these are some awesome. Yeah, this is tough. These are like all top 12 options, really.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. Choose 2.
Yep. I'm probably going to have to lean Hamilton for sure, just because I think he's due for a good bounce back game this week. And then probably looking at my second option, do you like Branch's matchup versus Tampa Bay, which could be pretty good? Or do you like Bates when they play Philadelphia, which is also probably a pretty solid matchup?
They're all solid. I'd play Hamilton, and it's a toss-up between the other 2. I mean,
I'm going to lean Branch. I like that Tampa's offense. I think they're doing a lot of quick hitters and stuff like that, which goes well for where Branch's alignment's going to be at. So,
yep, you convinced me.
Okay. Whew. Roger wants to also know Mac Wilson, Trenton Simpson, or Troy Anderson, choosing 2 of these. So I know we kind of already mentioned Troy Anderson as being a player probably going to see a lot more snaps this week than last week with Landman out. Trenton Simpson was everyone's breakout star. Didn't play a full complement of snaps in week 1. And then we have Mac Wilson. So we're kind of looking at the same kind of player here. Troy Anderson's probably the safest for the most snaps, higher percentage. So I'm going to go Anderson for 1. And then, Eric, it's kind of up to you where you're feeling. Simpson playing maybe a little bit more this week than last week versus Vegas, which
maybe,
or Mac Wilson, like we've mentioned, versus the Rams.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Wilson and Anderson.
Yep, Anderson and Wilson for me as well. Drew, Isaiah McDuffie or Devondre Campbell? I'm going to stick with McDuffie, I think, this week. I wasn't overly impressed with Campbell's play last week. It didn't look like he definitely looked like he lost a step from his time in Green Bay. I know that game was kind of out of hand early, He did play 100% of snaps. He had 6 tackles, 6 combined tackles. Yeah, I'm gonna lead McDuffie here. I think in a run heavy game against the Colts.
And Campbell was sharing time too with Finnegan. It's the second half of that name, Finnegan Flowers, something like that.
Demetrius Finnegan Flowers, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd lean McDuffie this week.
Yeah. Good luck to you, Drew. We appreciate you too, Chris. Thanks for checking in and asking questions. Third defensive back between Marcus Wilson, Keyshawn Nixon, and Paulson Adebo. Pretty easy for me to just go Nixon. He's been a popular name. Played really well last week. Played 80% of defensive snaps. And if you happen to be in a league, JJ, where you get return yards, you just get a bump.
Yep, agreed.
All right. Eric, you got this one. Brenton wants to know Tyler Nubin, Bynum, or the very popular Tony Adams?
I think it's got to be Bynum this week again. We talked about him earlier. We talked about Adams. We talked about Nubin a little bit. Not sure. It's 1 week of Nubin. Is he going to still get the snap share? I assume he will. I hate to assume, but sometimes we have to. But I'm going to go with the more sure thing to me is Bynum.
Yep, I agree. I think that he's going to have a great week versus San Francisco. I know that we don't want to get too cute with, week 1 stuff, but, Adams has been a popular name, but just not sure is it going to be consistent. And I would hate to put him in your lineup and then he goes back to the old Tony Adams and throws up a 4-burger for you. So
yeah, especially this early in the season, don't chase last week's points.
Should I start Max Crosby or Alex Anzalone? Again, depending on league scoring, things like that, it's hard to sit Crosby because he's such a game changer. But Anzalone is he's like the Alex Singleton of the NFC. He just racks up tackles and he's always there. So
yeah, it's scoring.
Yeah,
scoring dependent.
Yeah. I think if you play in a big play sack league, obviously Crosby, but tackle league, it would definitely be tackler balance. I'm Anzalone.
Yep, agreed. I was going to say the same.
All right, I'll stop talking and let you go, Eric.
No, you're fine.
All right. Brenton has another one. Very loaded linebacker room here for you to choose from, Eric. Vaughn, Bolton, Wagner, or Mosley. Only one.
Well, you and I probably aren't going to agree on one of them. Wagner's got the Giants this week.
Wagner does have the Giants this
week.
Not
a great matchup for him.
And it looks like he kind of lost a little step to, obviously, Father Time's undefeated, but I still think he diagnoses plays pretty well.
I don't know. I just don't trust Spagnolo. The Bolton, Tranquil, Chenal trio there bothers me a little bit.
In your head right now, it's between 2 players for me, Wagner or Mosley, between those 2 for me.
Yeah, it's. I think it's Mosley for me this week, even after having a disappointing last week.
Yep. I Mosley for me as well. I just think that playing against Tennessee is a better matchup than Wagner playing against the Giants.
Yep.
Now, he could probably have a pick 6 on Daniel Jones just because that's what Daniel Jones does, but I think Mosley is probably the safest option there this week.
Yep, agreed.
Steven, got to pick 3 of these linebackers. So CJ Mosley must have dropped some money somewhere and just wanted his name dropped a lot, but he's been optioned today. So you got to pick 3 of these, Eric. Alshire, EJ Speed, Kaiser White, or CJ Mosley.
Yeah, it's tough. I might go Speed, White, Mosley this week on that.
Yep, I agree. I think until we see what Shire really can do in that Houston defense, I think he's probably out. Shire and Speed are the 2 I had as coin flipping between the very end. And again, it goes on a game script. What's going to happen there? So, thanks, Steven, for the question. LU32 Morning, gents. Start 2 linebackers: Trenton Simpson, Mac Wilson, or EJ Speed.
Speed for sure in this
Yep.
group. And then, as we said earlier, I'd lean Mac Wilson over Simpson this week.
So if we look at Simpson, from last week, didn't play again. They played 54 snaps as a total defense. Simpson played 38 of those. He did have 4 tackles and a sack. So production's clearly there. The question is going to be: is he going to start to see more and more, more snaps on a week basis? And like you said, I think Speed and Wilson are the answers in week 2. If we get a little more clarity this week, maybe that'll change for week 3. But Wilson and Speed for us this week.
Yeah, he should beat out Harrison at some point, I would think, for more snaps.
Well, and then the weird thing is the Harrison's playing. They almost have him on the D line. They were playing a lot of edge snaps and things like that too. So who knows? Daniel wants to know starting 2: AVG, Highsmith, or Keon White.
All good options.
Highsmith for sure.
Yeah, and I might. AVG's got the 49ers this week. In Seattle, is Keon on the left side there of the line, I think? I'd probably lean Keon over AVG this week. That tackle on the right side of Seattle's line is not ideal.
Do they rotate? Is that where something we got to worry about, Keon White rotating or traveling?
Maybe.
Playing left side, right side, interior, outside, or is he pretty set and forget it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he had 80% of snaps last week, I think. Am I remembering that right for Keon White?
Yeah.
If again, it's
right
1 week sample size. Who knows what they do this week? But with Barmore out and with Judon gone, I think I'm hopeful that that's going forward. But it's a 1 week sample size. Yeah, I think it's Highsmith and White for me, but it's tough.
I think so too. I think White's going to be more consistent. AVG having a really tough matchup versus San Francisco this week. So good luck to you, Daniel. Jesse's got another one. Which would you start, Quentin Lake or Kyler Gordon?
I know what Jake would say if he was here.
Yep.
I'm
all in on Lake this season.
Yeah, I would go Lake unless he is out for the injury, the questionable tag or whatever. Gordon plays later, so Gordon plays later, so it'd be easy to switch him in if you need to. But I would go with Lake.
Yeah, and I like Lake just because he plays closer to the line of scrimmage in that slot spot versus that outside corner. That's pretty boom or bust on that outside. So Rob wants to know Spillane or Pace. Spillane, pretty easy. Pace isn't even playing 100% of snaps.
Did he even hit 50% last week?
No, what's that?
He didn't even hit 50% last week, did he? Pace?
I think he was right at somewhere
at 50.
But super efficient, just way too efficient with his tackle. So, Spillane's pretty easy for me this week.
Yep.
And then Lloyd or Ernest Jones, assuming that's Lloyd from the Jaguars, I'm going to go Devin Lloyd pretty easily this week until we see a little more from Ernest Jones.
Exactly.
Scott wants to know, he had 2 on Thursday, so he needs a big IDP swing. So clearly he's out to a huge lead with 2 on Thursday night. So Owe Odufe, Sam Hubbard, or Jalen Carter?
I would rule Hubbard out right away of those 3. He's more of a tackle guy than the pass rush guy for the most part. I mean, he does rush the passer, but not as effectively as Hendrickson does. And then they're playing the Chiefs, and Mahomes is pretty slippery. So I'd kind of rule him out. So it's between Owe and Carter for me.
I'm going Owe against Vegas.
Against the Raiders. As I say, the Falcons have a pretty decent offensive line, although they didn't show it too well against Pittsburgh last week. But I think a lot of that's just TJ Watt being TJ Watt. Nobody has an answer for him when he's healthy.
Yeah.
So, I'll go away. Agree with you.
Oh, yeah. Owe played 46 of the 54 snaps last week. He was able to generate 2 total pressures. He had a hit and a hurry to go along with 4 tackles. So I think opportunity is definitely there for him. So thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Good luck to you this week. Hopefully you hit that home run. Got a super chat here from Travis. Hey, guys, start Stevenson or Antonio Johnson at defensive back. Antonio Johnson, is he our answer of the week?
Yeah, it's the way I would lean. Stevenson had that big pick 6 last week, but I'd go Antonio Johnson here.
Yeah. Antonio Johnson just seems to be very disrespected, and I think the loss of Savage this week is going to be a bigger part for him than anything. So I'm definitely leaning Antonio Johnson.
I really don't know what the Browns' offensive identity is yet this year with, Chubb continuing to be out. Ford's a decent back. Deshaun Watson's a mess. I just don't know what to expect from them, but I'd still go Antonio Johnson.
Do you think Watson is the long-term answer there for Cleveland's quarterback, or do you think he'll be the quarterback by the end of the season?
Not the way he's playing currently. I think they'll have to do something, but that's a big contract to try to get rid of. I saw that there was another accusation against him, and the team put that out or leaked it out, I guess. But, you got to wonder, are they trying to set up an out from his contract? Do they have a clause in there that gives them an out? But
it's an inside job.
If that's the case.
It's an inside job.
That's really the case. I imagine they're still hopeful that he works out.
Yeah. Appreciate the super chat, Travis. Thank you. Good luck to you this week. Mario wants to know, tackle heavy league, Josh Hines, Allen, Montez Sweat, Xavier Collins, or Will Anderson Jr., assuming we're only picking one here. Got some great options for sure. To me, it's between Will Anderson and Josh Hines Allen. I don't know if you see it any differently, Eric. I'm going to probably lean Hines Allen here.
That's who I am leaning towards. Hines Allen for me.
Yeah. Some great options there for sure. Chris, is Joey Bosa playing? If so, do I start him? Or Brian Burns or Metabike?
He's questionable last I saw.
I know that Brian Burns had a pretty poor week 1, but as all Giants did, I think this week when they played the Commanders, I think it's probably a little more evenly based. He did play 48 of 55 snaps. He did have 4 tackles. Burns, I think, might even be an option. Burns, I might even be leaning Burns with Bosa. Who does Bosa have this week? Eric, do you know?
Sorry. The Chargers were Carolina, I think. I think it's Carolina.
Bosa had a pretty solid week 1 as well. That's going to be pretty tough to get away from as well. He played, 66% of snaps, came away with 6 tackles, a sack. So,
it's Carolina. They're starting to drop some of the inactives, so I'm just trying to run through that quick. But I think the Chargers are a 3 p.m. game, aren't they? Or are they early?
Chargers are a noon game.
They're noon game
versus Carolina.
I haven't seen them drop there.
All right. Well, I will let you continue to work that, and then we'll go. Brenton wants to say, "Go Hawkeyes!" So
go Hawks.
Let's see your towel hanging up there, your placard back there. Drew, thanks, guys. Keep subbing. I appreciate that. Yes, and please, friends, make sure you subscribe. We'll be here every Sunday answering your questions, dropping things throughout the week. So definitely want to get involved. Make sure you're sticking around for it. Lou32 back again with another one. Start one linebacker, Bolton or Levante David this week. you really can't go wrong with Levante David any week. I think he's got a great matchup versus Detroit. Bolton's versus the Bengals. I'm going to lean Levante David here this week, especially with a questionable amount of snaps with Britt. David's definitely going to be the guy there. So I'm gonna go that route. So
Agree.
Eric, any update or anything on Bosa? Did you happen to find anything?
No, I haven't seen that one come out yet.
Okay. Yeah, we are about 15, 20 minutes out from official drops and stuff like that. So if Bosa's playing, I probably are going to start him this week. If not, you got a great option in Burns as a second option there for you. So
yep.
Typically if players are playing, they're going to go well enough. They're not going to, especially in week 2 of the season, they're not going to do anything to like put them in jeopardy or things like long-term. So, but that way.
Kirby Joseph is active for the person that asked earlier.
Yeah. And I think we pivoted to a Cross or Antonio Johnson for them, or even Tony Adams. So I think all of those options are better options than a Kirby Joseph. So Bosa is active. Okay, so do I start Bosa or Gary at edge? Worried about Bosa's snaps. I love Gary this week. I think a heavy volume of snaps versus a running quarterback. So sign me up for that.
Yep.
Daniel, appreciate it. Thank you for all the questions today. Hope to see you back next week. Full PPR, Travis Etienne or Aaron Jones. Thanks, guys. I'm going to go Etienne. I'm very leery of the Vikings matchup this week versus San Francisco. I think that a lot of the Vikings love that got last week, how everyone felt good about them is going to come crashing down this week versus a real NFL team. So
that's a Packers wishful thinking is what that is.
Wow. I love Aaron Jones. I'm excited to see him go.
Yeah, it's interesting with I agree that's a tough matchup. And ETN last week pretty much split snaps with Tank Bigsby, and Bigsby outperformed him. So that'll be interesting if Bigsby now has earned a constant bigger share of that backfield now. So it's kind of a tougher question you might think. But again, it's been 1 week, so I would lean ETN.
I would look, you break down the ETN and Bigsby things. ETN literally fumbled a touchdown away. And then Bigsby got the run after that. So, is that kind of like that doghouse treatment kind of thing, because like if ETN wouldn't have fumbled that away, he obviously would have, that's 8 more points, 2 points for the lost fumble. He would have had a 24-point day, without that play. So I'm trying not to overthink 1 week, 1 play. I think it was just kind of, hey, learn your lesson, hold on to the ball. So, everyone's helping us out here. Bosa is active. Nice. So, if we do go with that route, we jump back to that question, Eric, here quick. Bosa, Burns, or Madubuike. I think Bosa and Burns are your options here.
I really like Bosa's matchup a lot.
Matchup. Carolina's got nothing, so Bosa should be able to eat. But are they going to play a lot of snaps? And then you're kind of looking at the Giants versus Washington. How does that matchup look for you?
Yeah, I would go with Bosa against Carolina. Yeah. Until Carolina proves they can do anything on offense, block anybody, I think you got to play edges against them.
And we might not have that answer to that question for another season. So
yeah.
Rogers back looking for 2 defensive backs and IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring. Lake, Sandistro, Branch, or Petrie.
Choose 2. It's Branch and Lake for me.
Perfect. Yep, exactly. Was leaning that way. Sandistro is one of my favorites this season. I think he's going to be getting some votes and answers here as the season goes on. But this week it's Branch and Lake, like Eric said. Trigger finger starting 1, Antonio Johnson versus the Browns or Tony Adams versus the Titans. Thanks. Literally our 2 favorite guys of the week. So I think we almost have to lean Tony Adams here just because of the usage last week, the performance that he had last week. The matchup with the Titans looks like a nice one for him as far as like that same kind of role plenty of running plays to have opportunities. Like you said, Eric, too, the Browns are kind of a mess on offense. As good of a play as Antonio Johnson might be this week, are they going to get enough? Is he going to get enough volume? Whereas hopefully Tony Adams is, able to almost get half of what he did last week would still be a great week for him. So I'm leaning Tony Adams here.
Yep, agreed. It's close, but I agree.
You're making this too easy for me here. Clint, Dorrance Armstrong versus the Giants, or Highsmith versus the Broncos?
I'm going Highsmith against the Broncos. He'd have been the guy I'd prefer going into the season. I know the Giants is a juicy matchup, but man, that Steelers defensive line looked great last week, and I'm gonna go with Highsmith.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Just kind of looking at some pass blocking metrics here quick too, just to kind of see if there's any. Again, only 1 week, but
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, both are kind of middle of the road, so that's not anything crazy or telling. So, Mario, thank you for checking in today. Hope you do well in week 2. Richard, choosing 2 between Dean, Overshown, Pace, or Simpson as a linebacker 3, and I think these are fantastic names right in that area.
Dean for sure.
Yep. Yeah, he's going to be all of the snaps. Have you heard anything on White this week as far as the ankle? Anything is
no, and even they were trying to say last week that even without the injury that he wouldn't have started. So yeah, I think it's Dean. Well,
yeah,
he didn't play great last week though either.
He did not, but he's going to be out there 100% of snaps, and I think that's the biggest thing is with the other ones that aren't guaranteed 100% of snaps, at least going into week 2. Overshown might be a different answer in week 3, but Simpson and Pace clearly aren't playing 100% of snaps. Dean is at this point, so I think we got to go with the volume. Volume's always king. So Mark has one, need the defense back this week due to injuries. There are a lot of defensive backs who are injured this week between Winfield, Forbes. We saw a lot of players doing that. So getting back to the question, who do you like best? Balance scoring, Petrie, Nixon, Reed, Bullard, Antonio Johnson, or the Washington safeties? Thank you. All right. Who do we like best?
It's not great scoring for kickoff returns. Nope. Not near as much as some leagues. So I don't know that that's as much of a factor for Nixon.
I'm leaning either Bullard or Reed here.
Yeah.
I think Bullard has a great matchup versus Indy, which we kind of already said, a lot of run heavy stuff. Reed really played well in week 1. Playing against Cincinnati, I think that this week they get their offense a little figured out. I think there's a little more opportunity for him to make some tackles, in that secondary versus the wide receivers and tight ends. I'm actually going to lean Bullard this week, and not just because I'm a Packer fan, but I just think coming off a strong game and a game script.
I'm going to go Reed. He was one of my most drafted defensive backs in those IDP best balls over the offseason. I got him quite a bit, so I'll lean Reed this week.
For no other reason but roster percentage. That's why we're going. All right, perfect. Brad wants to know flex Troy Anderson or Jack Campbell. I know both 2 infrequently used streaks.
I think we've
Troy
covered
Anderson
this
for me this week.
Yep.
Yeah. With
Campbell would be the guy if he just could get the snap share, but he can't. So
yeah, with Landman out this week, I think it makes for an easy call with Troy Anderson. Start 1 defensive lineman, 1 defensive tackle, and 1 at defensive end. So Will Anderson, Boye Mafe, Jeffrey Simmons, Quinnen Williams, Jared Verse. Let's take it one position at a time here, Eric. Who you got at defensive tackle? Quinnen Williams or Simmons?
Quinnen Williams for me. Simmons has a ton of talent, hasn't really had the production in the past that would match that talent. I do like his new partner there, Sweat in the middle. I think that'll help free Simmons up a little bit, but Quinnen Williams was, even though he didn't have the stats last year, he had the pressures, he had the underlying metrics to say that he should have had more sacks. So I'm trusting that Quinnen Williams is going to turn things around this year.
Okay, I'm totally on board with you on that one too. At defensive end, looking at Will Anderson, Boye Mafe, or Jared Verse.
I think it's probably Will Anderson.
Agree.
Who was their matchup again? Houston.
Tennessee is playing the
It's Houston,
Bears.
right?
Yeah, they're playing the Bears on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking Anderson there.
Yeah.
And then at one defensive lineman, I'm going to pick Mafe over Simmons and Verse there for that.
Yeah.
Again, unless the scoring is a little bit different for those, but I'm assuming since they're all defensive linemen, they're probably scoring is pretty the same. It's probably not a bonus for defensive tackle versus. I'm just not sure with Verse yet. Till he gets up to speed, I know that he played pretty well last week in his first game, but until he gets a consistent run, I think they're going to be rotating there, and I'm going to pick the player that's going to be on the field a lot. And with Uche still out, Mafe is going to get plenty of run there for Seattle. So,
yeah.
David, Javon Bullard or Nick Cross this week can pick up Tyler Nubin or Antonio Johnson if needed. So every defensive back question we've had today has had one of these guys in it. So yeah. And this one has all four of them. So I like Javon Bullard of them all. Nick Cross would definitely be a close second for me. I'm just looking at game script here.
It's all pretty much 1 week of data because I guess Antonio Johnson's a second year too, but he didn't play a lot last year, and Nick Cross didn't really look very good early last year at least. Yeah, I'd go Bullard.
Yeah, I just think last week's looked really good for him. Lineman looked really good for him, and then game script this week. So
yeah.
Back one question, Lou 32 with a question with the defensive end that's tackle heavy. So does that change your alignment any with Quinnen Williams, Anderson, and Mafe as being with tackle heavy?
Yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that as I look up some things again?
It doesn't really change. I was, kind of looking at like sack opportunity and stuff like that. I'm going to take Quinnen Williams over Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
Most times not. And then if I have an option, I'm always probably going to pick the defensive end just because of the opportunity for tackles. And I think Anderson and Mafe are a better option this week than Verse to be a tackle heavy option. So tackle heavy leagues, I'm probably that's how I approach them. So unless you got something different there, Eric. So
no,
thank
you convinced me.
Okay.
I
wasn't
waffling a little bit on Simmons versus Quinnen Williams, but it's not enough tackles. It wouldn't be any difference really. So I'd stick with Williams. And
is Keon White a safe pivot from Buckner? So Buckner's been questionable this week. Keon White getting the head nod from Eric, thinking that's probably a pretty safe option. Keon White's pretty solid in his own right. I think he's got a pretty good matchup versus Seattle this week too. So I don't think that's a big step down in opportunity. So I actually like White this week as an option for Buckner for sure.
It's 1 week, so you don't want to look too much into the grades, but he had the grades and production last week. He had a 90.8 pass rush grade last week. Keon White did so, and played a bunch of snaps. So, I think he's a good pivot.
Perfect. Oh, Brad just said Landman's out. Sweet. Hope he's all right, though. Absolutely, yeah. But it makes our job much easier when players are out because then that's less opportunity for other players to step in. So,
Yep.
Michael has another defensive back question, and wouldn't you know it, Tony Adams or Nick Frost here? I'm going to lean Tony Adams again, just with the alignment that he had, percentage, and I think that game script again. I'm very leery about the Packers' offense this week. I hope I'm wrong. Kyle Bellafield hopes I'm wrong, but probably not.
We've talked about both these guys quite a bit. I agree.
Tackle heavy league. Shay wants to know, going to drop Kwity Paye, Keon White, and Trayvon Walker, going to drop Kwity Paye, Keon White, or Trayvon Walker. Who should I get off of waivers, or can I check to see if their suggestions are available? Thanks.
Is this a choice between Keon White and Trayvon Walker to replace Paye?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm dropping Kwity Paye, Keon White, and Trayvon Walker. Who should I get off of waivers? Keon White seems to be the flavor of the week, right?
Yeah, it's worth picking him up and seeing if he can continue it or not.
Yep. Yeah, and Shay, we are always available over on X. Like, drop questions or drop a screenshot of like waiver wires. I'm always more than willing to help out. Look at the options for you. Not even on Sundays. It can be any day. 8 days a week. You're welcome. Ooh, thank you. Rob's back again, wanting to know Paye, Floyd, or Hayward at defensive line.
Minnesota's offensive line wasn't real good last week. Floyd got home last week. Won me a prop, so that was nice. God. For me, it's between Floyd and Hayward.
That's where I'm at. And it's hard not to have Hayward in your lineup.
Yeah.
So it's just, and Denver's line looked a little suspect last week, so I'm thinking I'm leaning
Hayward with a rookie quarterback back there, and Yep.
Good luck to you, Rob. Thanks for checking back in. Travis, start Jermaine Johnson or Alex Highsmith. Highsmith pretty easy for me.
Yep.
Travis has got another one here. Linebacker question: JOK or Bobby Okereke?
I mean, is JOK going to continue to get 100%?
Yeah.
He's the big play
I'm
guy.
going to Okereke to bounce back.
Yeah, the safe play is Okereke. JOK if you need a big boom from somebody.
Yep. Thanks, Travis. Appreciate the questions. Scott, Keon White or Dallas Turner?
White.
Yeah, White pretty easy for us right now today. Michael, thank you. Glad I found the channel. No, we're glad you found it as well. Eric, we've eclipsed the 400 view plateau for the day. I don't know. That's pretty big milestone for the live stream. So that's fantastic. So thank you for everyone who's been on today. Yeah. Lou 32, Tony Adams or Harrison Smith start one at safety. Like we mentioned before, Harrison Smith had that fluky interception that kind of boosted his stats a little bit. I'm going to go Tony Adams until he shows me that he's not playing that in the box role.
Yeah. There's a lot of safeties there in Minnesota, but Harrison Smith he would think almost, is he getting too old, but he just keeps producing against San Francisco. It's tough for me. I'll go with you and go with Tony Adams on this.
And yeah, when you were talking about Harrison Smith too, he was like a possible cut candidate too for that team, and then they brought him back, which was kind of surprising. But
yeah.
So thanks, Shay. Appreciate that. No, you make this show the best. So thank you for being here. A couple left here. David, starting Jawan Bentley over Dean, Ernest Jones, Trenton Simpsons. What are your thoughts about that? Should I pivot to the options?
I think for this week, Jawan Bentley is the right play. Ernest Jones may, as the year goes on, he gets more entrenched in that defense and what they want in that defense. I think Ernest Jones will be a good play eventually, but this week I would still go with Bentley.
Yeah. Bentley didn't score all too well last week as the efficiency standpoint. He did have 8 tackles. He did play every single snap. So I just think based on that, he's going to be for sure the guy this week.
Yeah, it's snap count for me.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Rob wants to know Hickman or Witherspoon. Man, it's hard not to start Witherspoon every single week. Hickman's playing Jacksonville. Might not be as a.
Is that Hicks? Or
I thought is it Hickman from Cleveland?
Oh,
Is that the wrong guy? I think it's Hickman from Cleveland. I'm gonna go Witherspoon. He's a top option. He's always has a chance to house one, so he'd be my locked in cornerback spot.
Witherspoon, as Adam likes to say, for sure.
Witherspoon, yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. From Cleveland. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm still gonna lean Witherspoon there. I just think he has big play potential. He's always going to be on the number one receiver. So I like Antonio Johnson as an option for the rest of the season, probably as a DB3, DB4. I wouldn't invest anything in any defensive back ever. So I wouldn't invest like if I have to trade for a draft pick or anything like that for him. But if he's available on waivers, he's a great option. I don't see a lot of competition for Jacksonville there this season. Kind of banged up already with Savage being there. Wingard is already banged up for them as well too. So I think opportunity is there. And if I roll him out as my DB3, DB4 every week, I probably could do worse. So
yeah,
that's where I'm at with.
Hickman had 11 snaps last week.
Snaps, not tackles.
Snaps.
Yeah, so Witherspoon pretty easy there. David, thanks for all you guys do for the IDP community. Awesome. Thank you for saying that. I've been competitive for IDP for 9 years now and won it 4 times. Such an awesome resource. Man, that's going to be a bumper sticker somewhere in Iowa. That's a bumper sticker right now. So appreciate that, David. Thank you for saying that. And awesome job on all your success. Scott, Joseph in Detroit or Quan in Washington?
Quan was also questionable last I knew.
Yes.
He had a good week last week.
And someone else already got ruled out for them. Emmanuel Forbes got ruled out. I know he plays corner, but that might put a little more pressure, more opportunity for him. I'm gonna lean Quan there in that one actually for Washington this week. So
yeah, that's where I was going. I just want to make sure he was in the lineup. So
perfect. Bynum or Metellus. So we got same position, same team. I like Metellus a little more just because he plays near the line of scrimmage. He's kind of that more hybrid role than Bynum. Bynum typically is more traditional safety. So Metellus for me.
Yeah, agreed. Metellus even has the linebacker tag in sleeper, so he's more of a box safety more often.
Perfect. Yeah, more consistency from week to week. So this week Bynum will go off for 4,000 points, but season long I'm going to go Metellus. So. Oh, one just popped in here. We've got an offensive question to end it. Sebastian wants to know Shaheed or Jameson Williams in a full flex PPR. So you're clearly the same kind of role on both teams, that deep threat home run guy. So
if you have kick return yards again, I would say Shaheed. That'd be the tiebreaker for me. But yeah, they're pretty close to the same, very similar players.
Yeah, I'm with you on Shaheed. I think he's going to be a more consistent piece for the Saints offense. He played pretty well last year. Jameson Williams just kind of came out of nowhere last week. I think that they get St. Brown and Laporta back involved a little more this week than last week. So Eric,
Saints might be more likely to be playing. I mean, they're both playing good offenses. The Saints have the Cowboys, the Bucs have the Lions. I would think the Saints would be a little bit more likely to be playing from behind also. So might need those deep shots.
Eric, we made it to the end of the questions. 2 hours and 10 minutes of nonstop NFL, IDP, offense, everything you can imagine questions. over 400 views. So that was fantastic. Sebastian, thank you for ending our questions today. Be sure to join me next week. We're going to do this again. Eric, I'd love to have you back sometime soon. So if you're not doing anything on Sunday mornings, if you're not crazy from a Iowa Hawkeyes win,
Hopefully there wins.
hopefully there wins. We'll see. We got one more sneak in here. Frosty wants to know, started Bernard on Thursday. Have to tweak between Sayre, Speed, Kendricks, and a tackle heavy league. So it sounds like he's already behind with Bernard. So he's looking for some upside. I think Speed and Kendricks are probably the safest in a tackle heavy league.
Kendricks for sure. Speed and Shire are pretty close to me this week.
Yeah. I'm just going to go Speed because he did it last week. Now the really, really last one. Amani Hooker or Jalen Petrie as a defensive back this week. So
that's I'll let you go first. I'm going to be a homer. That's pretty close to me.
Yeah, I'm going to go Petrie or sorry, Hooker on this one just because I think he's going to play a little more consistent role. I'm worried about Petrie's alignment and stuff like that from week to week in that Houston defense. So
yeah, they do tend to move him around a little bit. I am also going Hooker, and it's not 100% because he's a Hawkeye.
What's your roster percentage of Hooker in leagues? Is that what you're determining factor?
Actually not that great. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, awesome, Eric. I appreciate it. Sticking around. Thank you to everyone who jumped on today. Thank you for all the questions on Twitter, on X, on the live stream. We'll be back again next Sunday. In the meantime, be sure to check out the idpshow.com website. It's got everything that you could possibly imagine that you will need. It's got ranks, trade calculator. It's got everything that you could possibly need. So be sure to check that out. Good luck to you guys in week 2, and we'll catch up with you next time.